Thank you. Well, it's been a really amazing day, and I truly enjoyed all the speakers and women I've met, Toby, Joyce, the Soon sisters, really, really wonderful speakers and wonderful women I've gotten a chance to talk to. So I want to give you some basic tips as we wrap up today and talk about how to turn inspiration into action. But first I want to get a little personal. Many of you would ask me some questions about how you do it and juggle it with the kids, and those were some things that resonated after last year's speech. So first I'll jump back to how I met Chaya. Chaya tracked me down about a year and a half ago through our company's website, and my head of customer service in Arkansas forwarded me her email and said, I don't know whether to give her your email address or not, but she runs this organization called Jewish Women Entrepreneurs. I was like, of course, put me in touch with her, because I worked with so many other women entrepreneur organizations, but not specifically a Jewish one. So it's just so proud and such a wonderful thing to know that this organization actually exists and to be involved with it. And I'm so proud to have gotten to meet a lot of you. So last year, Chaya had asked me last year to give the keynote speech. And I actually wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make it. My husband was in between stays at the hospital. He had been in the hospital over Sukkot, having chemo, getting ready for a second bone marrow transplant, as his leukemia had come back, which he had originally 4 years ago. And he was home for a brief 2 weeks, so I was able to make it to the conference. It's not something I discussed, and it is something I bring up today, because my husband did pass away a year ago. And I'm sorry that while he was alive, I did not take the opportunity to talk about, in the times that I spoke to so many women about business, how important a strong spouse is and a supportive spouse is in business, because my husband truly, truly was one. So as a mother of 8 children, and with a large business, I could not have done it had I not had a supportive husband. So when women ask me for advice on how do you do it and juggle the family and the kids, having a supportive husband that supports your career is definitely a big part of it. And many of you are already married, already have your families, but as you think about when you raise your daughters and the next generation of business women, it's really important to note that who they choose as a spouse is going to have a big indicator on their own personal success. So I urge you to keep that in mind as you raise the next generation of daughters, because a supportive husband, somebody that can handle a strong woman, be supportive, share both in the family responsibilities, and be able to have the ego to be able to deal with a very strong woman is a very special and unique thing. And if you're able to find that, and your daughters and sisters are able to find that in a spouse, it's something important to look for if you want to be a successful woman. So a few things that I wanted to talk to you about in terms of running, growing, and scaling a successful business. One are details and focus. So I know everybody was probably very inspired today, but as you walk back to do your day-to-day jobs, the devil is in the details. You can't walk away from the details of your business, and it is in the minutia, which isn't always the most fun part of your business, where you will find your success. The chain is literally only as strong as the weakest link in your supply chain. If there's a problem in customer service, or if there's a problem in manufacturing, those are going to be your Achilles heel and are going to hurt your reputation, which is your most valuable asset. So you need to worry about the details. The other thing is focus, and that's something Joyce touched on. Wherever you are, you need to be present. You know, we all talk about women love multitasking, women are great at multitasking. Actually, nobody's really amazing at multitasking. I mean, we do it, but when we're listening to somebody and answering an email or a text, are we fully listening? And I'm still guilty of it, but taking the time to put the phone down and really have a conversation, whether it's with an employee or whether it's with your children, you really have to be in the moment of whatever you're doing. So laser focus on what you're doing, and believe it or not, you'll then have a better ability to multitask and do many more things. But where you are, be present in that moment. And then, as it relates to the details, know your numbers and own your numbers. I've talked to many women over the years that say they have a fear of numbers and they hand that to their husband, to an accountant, to somebody else. But the numbers are the key to your business. And if you're the one that has the gut and the insight for what products you should make or service you should offer, should you or shouldn't you hire, the answers are in your numbers. So you really must know your numbers, and you can't hand that off to somebody else. Somebody else can do the bookkeeping, but you have to be acutely aware of where the money's being spent, what's driving the sales. That 80-20 rule very often applies, that 20% of your assortment is driving 80% of your sales, and really, really own and know those numbers yourself. And while we're talking about numbers, I want to talk about being straight with numbers, which I was so happy to hear Joyce talk about as well. An entrepreneur who I met here a year ago, who I've been mentoring, recently called me towards the end of the year and asked me what to do about their numbers, what to do about their books at the end of the year. They were starting to show a profit, and if they reported numbers in a certain way, in a positive way, it would be helpful for investors, but if they reported it in a different way, showing that profit, they were going to have to pay taxes. There's only one set of numbers. You pay the taxes. If you really owe money, you pay the taxes and you do the numbers the right way. There's only one way. The other thing is about delegating and double checking. As we grow with our businesses and as we scale, one of the hardest things for us to do is to let go and delegate and give over responsibility to other people, which we absolutely have to do. But you never give somebody else the keys to your house. So while it's very important to delegate, you also have to be double checking. So it's trust with verification. It's your business, so it's your responsibility to dig into, of course, the numbers, but everything. Your manufacturing, social compliance, that's on you. Quality control, that's on you. So you can't just delegate and walk away. You have to delegate, but double check. And one of the final things is to always be paranoid. As successful as you are, always face that pit in your stomach and say, be a little paranoid and think, what if the worst happens? If you face that worst that might happen and you deal with it, you can get rid of that knot in your stomach because you've thought through how you're going to handle that situation. And sometimes it won't happen at all, but sometimes it will, and you'll be better prepared to deal with it. So when we talk today about setting yourself up for success, the first step was everybody coming here and saying, as well as we're all doing, we can all use a little help. And so I would encourage you to keep leaning on each other and look for help when you need it. Ask questions. No question is too stupid. That was a good point brought up earlier. And continue to self-examine as you grow your business. And a big conversation I had with a bunch of you before was about scaling. Don't grow too fast. We're all so anxious to be successful. One of the things I've seen as an obstacle and where a lot of companies have failed is when they've grown too fast. So when a great opportunity comes your way, your reputation is your best asset. If you can't take that big order and deliver it flawlessly, or you were asked to execute or perform a service and you can't do that with excellence, don't do it. If you tell a client or a customer or a retailer that that's too big, you can't handle it, you'd like to do something smaller, you're going to gain their respect, and don't worry, there'll always be another opportunity for another big order and another chance to grow. So don't just feel like you have to jump at every opportunity. Jim Collins often talks about in Good to Great, it's the not to-do list that's sometimes more important than the to-do list. So take things off of your list. Don't just grow as big as you think you might be able to. Do as much as you can do with excellence. And I want to wish you all great success and Hatzlacha, and it was really a pleasure to meet so many of you.